From the rooftop right down to the foundation, a home full of dangerous chemicals in the Highview area of Jefferson County will be taken apart instead of being burned to the ground now. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us. I'm Doug Prophet. WHAS11 night teams Connor Steffen and photojournalist Elijah McKenzie found residents around Applegate Lane are relieved but wondering why things changed.
Sitting idle for months, this boarded-up Highview home has served as a stressor for neighbors like Jasmine Perez, a new mother to a 6-month-old living just across the street.
I feel like sometimes I just think, when am I going to wake up?
Yeah.
When am I going to wake out of this crazy dream?
She's joined by Vicki Jackson, who lives right next door to Mark Hibble's condemned home, full of chemicals and explosives.
I'll be glad when it's over. It's been crazy. It has been crazy.
The ordeal potentially in its end phase.
We reached out to the EPA and saw.
With Metro government announcing today, the EPA will carry out a controlled mechanical demolition, piece by piece, of the property at 6213 Applegate Lane, not a controlled burn.
Oh, I was really glad. Yeah, I was really glad. I mean, something's got to be done. I'm glad they're going this way. I'm really glad.
For neighbors anxious at the thought of a controlled burn, it's welcome news.
Might take a while, but we're excited about it. Just not to have to wake up every day and have to see everyone out here.
Well, seen as a safer option, it's also quite a rare process that the EPA will be carrying out.
Throughout the United States, we can only find that this is a situation that's happened about 8 times from some of the subject matter experts that have talked about it.
The EPA could begin as early as October. Crews will first place a 17-foot perimeter wall around the property before using a bulldozer to remove the roof and walls.
It involves removing debris from the home in small scoops.
Crews will place the material in a large metal bin placed in the ground in the backyard before getting rid of it.
I felt confident in them doing that. To the neighbors that I have talked to, they didn't want it burned.
The controlled burn process will remain on standby, the mayor says, in case of an emergency. But for surrounding Highview homes, the months of waiting now ending with a much different outcome. In Highview, Connor Steffen, the WHAS 11 night team, on your side.
Now to the homeowner. This man, Mark Hibble, is still in jail. At his last hearing, a judge lowered his bond to $10,000 and said if he was released, he must seek psychiatric care at Wellspring. His attorney filed a motion to keep the city from destroying his house in a controlled burn. He is charged with wanton endangerment and burglary for squatting that's living inside his neighbor's house right next door. We have new details tonight on the WHAS 11 night team. There will be increased security, we've learned, near a Russell neighborhood bus stop the rest of the week after a shooting happened there this afternoon. That's according to a letter that was sent home from the principal at Eastern High School. Police say a fight broke out on the JCPS school bus transporting Eastern students to West Louisville. The fight then escalated once students got off the bus at 24th and Magazine. When officers arrived, they found a teenager and an adult who had been shot. The principal confirms the teenager is an Eastern student there in Middletown. Both victims were taken to the hospital where they are expected to survive. Police say they know several other teenagers were involved in this incident. Additional security is expected also at the high school for the rest of the week. Anyone with information who can help police detectives, the number to call is 574-LMPD. And that is not the only altercation that happened on a JCPS school bus today. JCPS police are investigating after several middle school students were exposed to pepper spray on the bus ride to school this morning. It happened after 2 adults got onto the bus while it was at a stop. Jeffersontown Fire and EMS says they checked out 31 Carithers middle school students. 4 were treated and 2 had to be taken to the hospital. JCPS spokesperson Carolyn Callahan tells us video from the bus shows one adult running down the aisle. Why they were on the bus is unclear.
If there is a situation in the community or a situation with your family, please let your school know so that the school can help you. Adults should never be getting on school buses. We should never be putting our students in situations that could impact their safety.
School officials also told us that it was the student who used the pepper spray, but JCPS police say they could bring charges against the adults for boarding that school bus. And here tonight, it's a big question. Will they go on strike? That deadline is getting closer. In fact, this very time tomorrow night, we will be in the final hour heading toward the deadline of 11:59. Thousands of auto workers, of course, here in Louisville may walk off the job from Ford's 2 big plants, joining many others across the country. ABC's Melissa Adan reports tonight the UAW president updated members on their plans ahead of the deadline.
The United Auto Workers president updating his members, calling this a stand-up strike and remaining adamant in their fight amid a possible strike.
Corporate greed is the problem.
If a deal isn't reached, it would be the first time in history that union workers walk out on all of the big three American automakers. The UAW's president says while they are making progress on deals with Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis, they are still falling short.
We're making progress at each of the three negotiating tables. We're still very far apart on our key priorities, from job security to ending tiers, from cost of living allowance to wage increases.
Who are we?
Rallies in Indiana ahead of Thursday's strike deadline. According to economists, prices on vehicles could spike if the strike lasts more than a month. The UAW wants a 40% wage increase over the next 4 years, claiming that's how much the CEOs have gotten since the last contract.
I don't mind them making all that money. That's great. But don't take away from me to pad your own pocket.
Other union demands, a return to pension plans, eliminated for new hires during the financial crisis, retiree health care, and a 4-day work week, which Ford's CEO says is unrealistic.
It's critical that we find a deal, but there is a limit, as I said. We're not going to mortgage our future.
Melissa Adon, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Ford builds the super successful Super Duty pickup truck at the Kentucky truck plant in eastern Jefferson County and at its oldest plant here. That's the Louisville assembly plant on Fern Valley Road. They build the Lincoln Corsair and the SUV Escape. Well, the man accused in a deadly hit and run in Shively Sunday night faced a judge for the first time today. This is Joseph Martin. He's being held on a bond of $100,000 cash. Today, the judge ordered that he pay at least 20% of that bond, and if he posts bail, he'll be put on home incarceration. Detectives say Martin admitted to hitting Demetric Dryden Danzy and to using meth and alcohol, drinking alcohol just before the crash. He's charged with vehicular homicide, leaving the scene, and driving without a license. In a different hit-and-run case, 28-year-old Colin Taylor, right here, pleading not guilty on charges of leaving the scene and failure to render aid after a crash last Friday on Dixie Highway near Bernheim Lane. 19-year-old Derek Wright Jr. was killed in that incident. The bond was originally set at $100,000, but Taylor's lawyers argued that it was unreasonable.
We're asking for a $100,000 bond for an individual who works at T-Mobile, no criminal history. What kind of message are we sending to our community?
The judge lowered Taylor's bond to $10,000. New tonight, a new restaurant coming to Westport Village in eastern Jefferson County may have to wait a little longer after a car crashed right through the business today. Osteria Italian Seafood is renovating the longtime Napa River Grill space to open their restaurant. While working on the inside today, the owners tell us that a woman seemingly lost control. You see the car right there. It smashed right into the front of the restaurant. Osteria was scheduled to open on September 26, and the owners say that's still their goal.
It was scary. It was just coming down here and just seeing it. I mean, just a car straight through there. You know, we still plan on opening in 2 weeks, September 26, so just throws a little wrench into the plan, but we'll figure it out.
Restaurant owners tell us no one was hurt in the crash. A water main break shooting water everywhere late today caused quite the scene for drivers along East Broadway near Clay, near downtown Louisville. It sent water gushing into the street. But Louisville Water is telling us that the issue was quickly resolved. We are told there was minor damage and no customers were impacted. Well, things turned fiery but stayed respectful today at the Louisville Forum in downtown Louisville as Kentucky State Representative Republican Jason Nemus of Middletown and JCPS board member Corey Scholl debated the future of the school system. Once again, the topic of splitting up the JCPS school district emerged. Nemus has pushed for that split, saying the district is far too big to handle the amount of schools in the system. He believes splitting up the district will help solve the transportation issues that have caused serious problems since the start on August 9th.
Marty Polio couldn't he couldn't go to every school in 1 year. There are 165 schools. You think he knows the name of all the assistant principals? Maybe all the principals, maybe not. You think he knows the assistant principals? You think he knows what's going on in Crosby and Lassiter and Brown and Manual and Valley and Moore? in Iroquois? You think he does? Because he can't. It's not possible. So the size is our strength issue? I don't think so. I think the size is the problem.
Scholl, however, feels that a split in the system would segregate the schools and further limit the resources available to the more marginalized areas of Louisville.
If you divide the district, you're going to need 4 or 5 superintendents, 4 or 5 athletic directors, 4 or 5. So you're going to multiply your administrative load. We're actually better as one united district.
Well, this all comes as Jason Nemus and a group of other Kentucky Republican lawmakers have asked Kentucky's state auditor to look into JCPS's finances and management. No timeline yet on whether that request will be granted by the auditor.